Welcome to my Facebook Live. And it's Monday morning, and I want to know how everybody out there is feeling. You can leave a message in the chat section, and I can answer your questions as we go along. But I just want to share with you a little bit about how I'm doing. Here in Central Florida, where I live in Mount Dora, Florida, which is a little teeny tiny town. There are about 14,000 people here in my town. It reminds me a little bit of Mayberry, if you remember that television show with Andy Griffith and Ron Howard. And I live in this little teeny tiny town, and today some of our restaurants will officially open up. And we have some restrictions here where if a restaurant does decide to open up, then they have to stay at a 25% capacity. And so that'll be interesting to see. So in just a minute, I'm going to bring on our guest, and our special guest today is Neen James, and Neen will be coming in. In fact, I think she's here now, and in just a minute, I'll bring her on the screen, and you're in for a real treat because Neen and I met each other, oh my goodness, so many years ago. I want to say maybe 10 years ago, we met each other, and at National Speakers Association, which is nsa.org if you're interested, or nationalspeaker.org. Anyway, Google it. It's a wonderful organization, especially if you're interested in speaking to live groups. Anyway, Neen and I became instant friends when I met her, and I love her books. In fact, I'm going to ask her to talk a little bit about her latest book, which is titled Attention Pays. And that's what today's conversation is going to be all about, because in these stressful times, many of us are losing our focus. We are not paying attention, or we're paying attention to the wrong things. And I would like for us, Neen and I, to help you get back on track, to get a little bit more focused, to get more productive, and to become more passionate about what your next step is going to be. Because many of us, especially in my industry, we are having to reinvent ourselves. We are having to come up with a new business model. And Neen can probably shed some light on how to reinvent yourself, how to stay passionate and productive in these times. So I'm going to bring her on in just a second. Let's see if she is able to come on. And let's see. I'm going to see. Neen, can you hear me?
I can. G'day.
Good day. Let me see if I can bring you on the screen. I'm going to, there we go. Good morning.
G'day, gorgeous. What a treat it is to serve people that follow you. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. I love to see you in pink. That is your signature color.
Yes, it absolutely is. And I feel like sometimes, because most of us are spending our days on camera these days, right? So we're either doing Zoom calls, team calls, Cisco telepresence, Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives. I feel like if you've got a little bit of color that you feel comfortable in, then you know what, honey, I say wear it. Wear it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm wearing one of my favorite colors today as well. I purposely did not wear pink because pink is one of my favorite colors, but I knew, I said, oh, she's going to wear pink, so I'm not going to do that. So we have about 25 minutes together, and I know that our listeners are really eager to hear what you have to say. You wrote a fantastic book called Attention Pays, and you've been very, very busy, I know, during during lockdown. I saw your list of things that you're working on. You're working on books, you're working on videos, you're doing Facebook Lives, you're doing Instagram. What in the world are you not doing? And how do you do it all? I mean, and you just moved to Tampa, Florida. So welcome.
I did.
You're a fellow Floridian. Yay.
Thank you. One of the best things we did was relocate, and we love it here. You know, I read this brilliant article last week. My dear friend Michael Barber shared it with me. And the premise of the article and the title of the article was "Your Only Goal is to Arrive." Now, here's what the article is absolutely about. And that is that if you've ever flown with little people, or you've had little people on your plane, the premise of the article is, as parents, if you're flying with little people, you know how stressful that can be. And so your only goal is to get to the end of the flight sane. And that's what I loved about this article. And Jacqueline, I'll share it with you so that you can maybe put it in the comments as well. But what I love about this article is wherever you are on this journey is exactly where you need to be. And we have some days, myself included, where you are like psycho-productive. And to me, psycho-productive is when everything's clicking and you're crossing things off and you feel really great and your accomplishments are amazing. And then some days, the other day, I was telling a client this morning, I was feeling psycho-productive, like a little impressed with myself. And then I heard these lyrics to one of the Ed Sheeran songs. He has this beautiful song called Supermarket Flowers. And there's a line in this particular song that says, "You were an angel in the shape of my mom." And I was supposed to be in Australia this week seeing my mom. Well, that one line, that one lyric, Jacqueline, it sent me sobbing in the middle of the day. So I think that wherever you are in this journey, your only goal is to arrive on the other side of it. And I'm choosing not to use the word crisis anymore. I'm using the word transition. And I would love people who are watching to consider the same thing. If you are in the process of reinventing yourself, you're simply in transition. Maybe you've been furloughed. Maybe you've been fired. Maybe this is the time that you have chosen to reinvent yourself. So we look at all these people with perfect Instagram lives and perfect Facebook lives. That is not reality. And we're only choosing to publish the best version of ourselves, right? So what I want you to consider is a few things. Your only goal is to arrive on the other side, whenever that might be. And wherever you are is where you are. And so, yes, I have been achieving enormous amounts of things because most of my life is on planes, in ballrooms, and staying in hotels. But I've also given myself the grace that some days are just messy. And some days I'm spending 12 hours a day on Zoom, like today. And so one thing I just want people, wherever you are is where you are, and that's okay. And you can't compare your journey to someone else's because none of us are in the same place. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, I'm happy to hear that your life isn't perfect. Selfishly. No, but you're right. I mean, that's why they call it fake books sometimes, because we only show what we want people to see. But, you know, when people look at you or they look at me, they might see somebody who appears to have an idyllic life, which I am very happy with my life. And I know you are too. However, I have to say that I'm like you. I'm used to being on planes. I'm used to speaking in front of a lot of people. I'm used to getting up and out. And this lockdown has been very challenging for me. And I have to admit, I'm going to say it. One day I had a meltdown.
Oh, honey, just one? Oh, gracious, bless you. I've had multiple meltdowns. Good gracious. That's amazing. That's incredible that you've kept it together for just one. I just think that if people have meltdowns, that's normal. That's okay. It's just we don't choose to share that on social. That's all.
That's right. That's right. So you have come up with some tips. And I know when you wrote the book, COVID-19 didn't even exist.
Yeah.
Now that it does exist, would you change the book in any way? And if so, what would you add or take out?
No, I wouldn't change it at all, because the premise of the book is that we need to be intentional with our attention. And so intentional attention is the choices we make and the actions we take. I've always been a huge advocate. You know, when I work with leaders, they always ask me, Neen, how do I get attention? Because I want to build engagement, whether you're a business owner, an employee, a leader within an organization, or whether you're currently reinventing yourself. Often we want attention because we want to build that engagement. And I realized that systems direct attention, and therefore we need to create systems of attention. And so in the book, we give you so many systems of attention. And I think that all of the things we talked about in the book are more relevant today, even than they were when I published it over a year ago. And so I have been advocating for the longest time that we need to get back to some of the fundamentals, some of the actions we need to make, including using people's names more. I believe every human on this planet wants to be seen and heard. And the reason we need systems of attention is because when people feel seen and heard, we are able to build loyalty. We are able to create amazing advocates in our clients and our colleagues. And the reason I'm so obsessed with this idea of attention, Jacqueline, is because I feel like if we pay attention, companies make more money, our relationships are deeper, and we take care of the planet on which we live. And so I've always advocated for these things. Now we're realizing that if we are going to be in calls like this, we need to use people's names more. We need to breathe. We need to wait. We need to listen more intently than we ever have before. It means that our devices that really do connect us, we've relied very much on these, but we've also learned to prioritize now what really does deserve our attention, who deserves our attention, what deserves our attention, how we're paying attention in the world. We're seeing example after example of how the world has now been allowed to breathe, how wildlife is really being able to flourish in areas that maybe it hasn't been in the past. And so I think as the world has taken a step back, we've looked at our relationships differently. Companies who maybe didn't trust their people to work remotely now. I can't tell you how many CEO conversations I've had where they were anti-remote working before, and now they're in this reality that that is their future for at least the next 12 months. So I think it's allowing companies to trust each other even more. It allows us to take care of the planet. So everything I wrote in the book, I want to thumbs up. I know I wrote it, so obviously I'm biased, but I do believe that it is. There's this really cool poem by this guy called Probably Tomfoolery. And there's this beautiful thing circulating on the internet in the last couple of days called The Great Realization. I shared it in my newsletter today. If anyone wants my newsletter, you can absolutely sign up on my site or just drop me a note. But it's this beautiful bedtime story that a man tells his little one about what the world was like before COVID-19. And it's fantastic. I'll send you the link so you can pop it in the notes, but it's called The Great Realization. And I put it, as I said, in my newsletter. I've had so many people send that to me in the last 24 hours. And what it shows me is that we've been craving this reconnection with people. It's just we were forced to do it under this situation. So does that answer your question?
It does. And it reminds me about going back to basics. I think you're exactly right. We are going back to basics in many ways. And when you say reconnecting with people, I'm an etiquette consultant. You're a leadership expert. I tell my audiences every day that it's all about connection. It's all about the relationships that we build. And now more than ever, we have an opportunity to connect. It might be different. It might be through our smartphones. It might be through Facebook or Zoom or whatever. But this is the time now where we can start rekindling relationships. I'll give you an example. I take a walk every single morning. And during my walk, I walk about an hour. I call at least one friend a day. And it's usually a friend I haven't spoken to in more than 6 months.
Right.
And I call in and I just say, hey, just checking on you. Just want to see how you're doing, what you're doing. And people are so grateful because most people don't take the time for that one little phone call.
Right.
And it's so important. But what advice do you have? Now, not everybody on our call is a business person. We've got people who might be housewives, house husbands, single people who are unemployed at the moment, who are just trying to hold everything together. You talk about systems.
Yes.
A lot.
Here's what happened. So it doesn't matter where you are in your journey, whether you are retired, self-employed, not employed, furloughed, a leader of a Fortune 50 company. What I realized was, with all the clients I was talking to, they had to get back to fundamentals. So I created this daily tracker, and I'm happy to share it with you. You can share it with the team. But what I did was I created my own daily tracker because I needed to feel productive. And that's a lot coming from a productivity and attention expert, I know. But I'm not even kidding. I love crossing things off. And the reason why, I wonder if anyone would be willing to admit on this call that you actually write something on a to-do list just so you can cross it off, right? And so what I realized was I need that. I crave that sense of completion. I've always advocated with my audiences and my clients that I work one-on-one with is I want every one of you to take 15 minutes every single day to have a strategic appointment with yourself. And in your strategic appointment, I want you to identify what are your top 3 not negotiable activities that you must do today. Now, the sneaky trick behind that is I write them on a Post-it note, and I write on the Post-it note, today I will, because it's an agreement with myself, I'm holding myself accountable, and then I list my 3 things. Now, what I do is I write my 3 things, and then I carry that silly little Post-it note with me all day, everywhere, because it becomes my decision filtering system. What I did was I realized that worked for me, and it now works for my clients all over the planet. And so I elevated that to a daily tracker. Now, my tracker has silly things on it. It has, I can show you, it has things like, did I meditate? Did I do a quiet time? Did I work out? How much water did I drink? And I literally created a checklist. And the reason that this has been so powerful, all my clients ask me for it, is because they want the same sense of completion. You see, our brain craves completions. One of the things we learned in our attention research before we wrote Attention Pays was every time you want your brain to do something, it's kind of like opening a tab on a computer. And I don't know about you, but we have a lot of tabs open, right? And so every time you cross something off a list, your brain goes, woohoo, you get like a little high five from your brain. It's called dopamine. It's amazing. If any of you wear a Fitbit, you know that great feeling when you get your 10,000 steps. Yes. It's like, woohoo, high five from the Fitbit. Good work, 10,000 steps. Your brain is the same. Your brain craves this sense of completion. So when you write something down or when you cross it off, when you check a box, your brain goes, good job. And I realized in this time, people are craving some sense of completion. So Jacqueline, I created this daily tracker, happy to make it available to everybody. And my clients are loving it because every day they literally can decide what's my most important things to do and am I taking care of myself? Because now we aren't jumping on planes, sleeping in hotels, eating takeaway food. Well, maybe we are, but we're not doing the kind of activities that some of us might have historically done. Maybe you commuted to an office every day. Maybe you managed a team before. And now what's happening is our time has changed, our allocation. What's really interesting through all of this, Jacqueline, and I've heard, is my clients now are experiencing a level of exhaustion that they didn't even know was possible because they're more tired from being on video calls all day, and then they get to the end of the day and they're wiped out. So whether you are employed or not employed, the idea of getting back to just make one appointment with yourself every day. Choose your top 3 not negotiable activities that you must get done today so you get a sense of completion. I believe the 15-minute system can be applied no matter where you are in your journey. And remember what I said at the beginning, your only goal is to arrive. You just got to arrive on the other side of this. I think we've moved out of crisis, as I mentioned, to transition. And at the moment, we're transitioning to design what does new look like to us as a global community.
Right. And so those tasks don't have to be necessarily business oriented. They can be, I just need to get my laundry done today. I just need to make my bed. I just need to work out in my garden. I mean, they don't have to be, anything extraordinary.
And I think that's even more important because every time we think we need to do something, your brain's going to keep reminding you until we get it done. And so another strategy that I find really helpful for myself personally and my clients have found really helpful is having an accountability partner. You see, I think public accountability drives private accountability. If you tell someone you're going to meet them for a walk at 6 a.m., you're more likely, 6 feet apart, of course, you're more likely to honor that 6 a.m. when your alarm goes off in the morning than hit snooze. If you were just walking by yourself at 6 a.m., you might go, oh, I'm a little tired, it's cozy, I don't want to get out of bed. But if you tell a friend you'll meet them at 6, you'll be like, oh, gotta get up, promise them that I would. So what I do is every Monday, I send my accountability partner all the things I want to achieve this week, personal and professional. And then every Friday, I send her an update of how I did. Now, because I said public accountability drives private accountability, I don't want to let the team down. I don't want to disappoint her. If I said I'm going to do these things, I want to report back that I have. Now, sometimes I am frantically on Thursday night trying to cross things off this list, Jacqueline, believe me. But the people who, and it doesn't matter if it's work-related or personal-related, if you find yourself an accountability partner, someone who will hold you accountable, that's really helpful because it's the idea that we're in this together, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you can make someone else's life more interesting, more helpful, if you can extend kindness in that way, you're going to be so much more valuable to them as a colleague, as a friend. So consider maybe you could be someone's accountability partner too.
That is a great idea. So what about the stress levels? I think the stress levels right now are going through the roof. Mm-hmm. Everybody that I've talked to, they're tired. They just want to throw their hands up. They're doing the best they can. We're all just doing the best we can. Yet, like you said, I mean, I predicted this. When we started out in lockdown, I think about 6 weeks ago, everybody had a lot of time on their hands. They're like, oh, yay, it's like an extended vacation. I can get this done. I can clean out my closet. I can organize my drawers, blah, blah, blah. And then after all that was done, everybody was like, okay, now what? And then we started creating. I know those of us in business, we started creating work for ourselves. Like I just started doing these Facebook Lives. I just started doing Instagram Lives. I started writing more newsletters. Mm-hmm. And now I'm busy. I'm really busy. But yet there's still that stress level, that underlying current that I think is still going on. How do you personally deal with that, Neen?
You know, I, like everyone, thought that I was going to crush quarantine. Oh, yeah, I was going to lose 10 pounds. I was going to Marie Kondo my house. I was going to write a new book. So let me just tell you how that's all doing. I have started the new book called Systems Thinking. I have Marie Kondo drawers that needed to be done, but I still have many that are things that I still want to get to. And I haven't lost 10 pounds yet. My husband decided baking bread was a new thing, so there's that. So one thing I want people to consider is wherever you are is where you are. But one system of attention I'd invite you to consider if you want to manage your stress levels is establish a morning routine. In your morning routine, I'd invite you to do the same thing every day. Now, when you first get up, can you drink some water? Maybe you add some lemon to it so that you're hydrating in a more powerful way. It's like the first thing you do in the morning. Can you enjoy your coffee or your matcha or your cup of tea, whatever it is, in a way that is actually some time for yourself? Maybe that's a good time to do the 15-minute strategic appointment with yourself. Can you move your body in some way? You're walking for an hour, which is lovely, and some people don't all have the luxury of beautiful weather, but could you do something that will move your body in your tiny apartment or in your big house? Maybe some yoga. And I always like to meditate. It's something that I've found has totally changed my stress levels. So I believe in a morning routine of matcha, movement, and meditation. Now, matcha for me, it's green tea. It's like super intense and it's a really great energizer. So what I'd invite people to think about is, can you establish a morning routine? Identify the same things that will make you feel good. Fuel your body, hydrate your body, move your body, meditate to help your mind. Now, I used to think, Jacqueline, that meditation was like woo-woo and I can't possibly, my mind's not quiet and I'm a crazy person and it's crazy town up there. But then through what I've realized is meditation is just a technique that helps calm your mind. It doesn't mean I sit there and think about nothing, and I need to do guided meditations. And it could be 5 minutes or 15 minutes, but it helps in so many ways. It impacts my breathing, my stress throughout the day. So they're my sort of not negotiables. So I'd love people to consider a morning routine, because that means you're taking care of yourself first. And then I'd like you to consider an evening routine. So before you go to bed, I'd love you to think about my friend Karen Roy is a sleep expert, and I hired her to help me with my first book, Folding Time. There's a whole section on folding time, which I'm happy to give everyone for free. Jacqueline, I'll send you a link to that so everyone can have access to that. But in this, we talk about sleep hygiene, and sleep is what's really impacting our stress, because this is where we work things out in our sleep. And many people I'm talking to are getting up at 2 and 3 a.m. and having 5 cups of coffee and then going back to bed, and they're not sleeping. So establishing a night routine by getting your body ready for sleep. That could be eliminating some of the screen time an hour or so before you go to bed. It could be drinking something soothing like a lovely chamomile tea or something like that. But thinking through, going before you go to bed is not the time to check on all your email. It's not the time to check all social media. What I'd love you to consider is, can you get your body ready for sleep by doing the same things? If you have the luxury of a warm shower or a warm bath or lighting a candle. One of my girlfriends has this beautiful tradition that once they've eaten their dinner and they've cleaned the kitchen, she dims the lights a little bit and she lights a candle. And that's this beautiful, safe environment she's creating for her family during this time. One of my ways of managing my stress is a morning routine, a night routine, and changing my language. I don't use words like crisis, lockdown. I avoid words like quarantine wherever possible. And what I'm choosing is, instead of saying it's a crisis, I'm choosing transition. Instead of saying I'm stuck at home, I say I'm safe at home. Instead of saying this is what I have to do, this is what I choose to do. So one of the things I'd invite people to consider from a stress point, one of the reasons we get so stressed, Jacqueline, as you know, is we feel like things are out of our control.
Yes.
And I can control what I do in the morning. I can control what I do at night. I can control what I say. I can't control the way people respond to me. I can't control the crazy things people are posting online. So I have unfollowed more people than I care to admit. I have been news fasting as well. So I tend to read the news now rather than watch the news, because I don't want to listen to crazy town people saying ridiculous things. And so I think we have to protect our sanity. Remember, I said our only goal is to arrive. Our goal is to arrive sane and healthy and kind. And so that means we have to protect what we give our attention to. And so I want you just to think about prioritizing yourself, your sanity, and your safety and your mental health, but also think about the word choices you're making. If you are furloughed right now, then maybe you are in transition. And I've done a lot of Facebook Lives about that. People can go watch. Maybe if you've been fired and you're currently looking for a new role, maybe that's going to be a different set of language that you need to think through. And maybe if you are currently employed, you feel very grateful that you're employed, but you don't know what your company is going to do in the next 6 months, then this is a really good time to control updating your LinkedIn profile, updating your resume, and maybe signing up for an online course you thought looked interesting, maybe reading a book you've been meaning to read, maybe listening to a podcast. There's so many free resources out there right now. Every brand is doing free workouts. Colleges are doing free courses. Like, there's so many good things you could take advantage of right now if you wanted to. You're fully in control of what you put in your head and what you put in your body.
I think you're right on. And choice of words is so important. I love that you have eliminated some of those negative words, and now you're changing them with positive words like transition and safe. I mean, those are happy words, and we all should pay attention to that. So I am so excited that you joined me today, and I want our viewers to check out your website, which, by the way, is absolutely fabulous. So whoever designed it, they did an amazing.
That's Gift Designs in Portugal. They're so talented, led by Joanna and her team. I love what they do. Their work in the world is amazing.
Oh, well, I want people to check out your website, and I also want them to check out your book. Where can they get your book?
Anywhere they like to buy books, you name it. So Amazon.com, and I mean that's the place right now where people are getting deliveries from, right? So you can buy that from Amazon or your favorite book source.
And you have a wonderful Facebook page. And I know you're doing a lot of these Facebook Lives, and you are also interviewing people. You're bringing on experts who are helping us navigate through these interesting times. So I want people to follow you. I want them to get to know who you are. And I'm just so grateful for our friendship. I'm so grateful that you have agreed to come on and be with me for a little while.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for what you're doing in the world. You make the world just so much more elegant and beautiful, and you make people feel seen and heard, and I love that. So thank you for what you do, and thanks for inviting me to be part of this today.
You're welcome, Neen. So again, everybody, if you're interested in learning more about Neen James, it's neenjames.com, right, Neen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. So thanks everybody for watching, and we will post this. I'm going to post this on YouTube, and it will be on my Facebook page, and I'll also put it on my Facebook personal page so people can watch and get to know you a little bit better. So thanks so much.